That's exactly what happened. And in the case of the matters, this is exactly what happened. So we will be having these conversations. Stick with us. It's going to be a roller coaster that you're going to enjoy because we have so much coming your way. But for now, let me check on the team and see how the weekend was, and of course how the rides to work have been. Personally, I've seen a lot in terms of the pilgrims that are going to Namugongo. I've seen roads closed off, especially when you're coming from the sides of Chira. That entire stretch going to Chaliwajala has been closed off, so you can't use it. You have to go through Nigeria. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. Welcome back from the weekend.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was it?
Oh, mine was great. I can't complain. It was wonderful.
Yeah, indeed it was. I know it was. Well, I'm doing well as well. I'm ready for the new week, ready to celebrate the Martyrs' Day today, and looking forward to how the day unfolds, and also looking forward to how the week itself unfolds. I believe it's going to be a great week.
Well, according to you, and of course, according to what history says, do you believe that the martyrs were killed just because they were faithful? Or do you believe with some historians who say, no, they were just rebellious?
I would not stand on one side and say it's because they were faithful, because there are different perspectives. The people of the people that believed in the kingdom then believed they were rebellious. But then those who were in Christianity believed that they were dying because of their faith. And the two can be right on the different grounds and can be wrong on the different grounds. So I would say if it matters Christianity and religion, then they died for the faith. And that is a fight that we can say ended because of the faith they had. But then when it comes to how culture had been, to how we had been operating as a country, it was rebellious because all we had known was that, for example, in Uganda, there were different gods, and you only had to obey who you were seeing, who was the king of Uganda. And at this point, you are disobeying the king and believing in a power or someone that you can't even see, and definitely that will be looked at as rebellion.
And you're saying that this power that you can't see is a supreme King of Kings, Lord of Lords. How
Yet
the
king that we know is the king that is on the throne.
Yes.
So you realize there was a conflict between Christianity and culture at that point. That's why I say on the two angles, if we drew a 6 right now, if you stood in front of me and the 6 was facing up, I'll tell you it's a 6, you tell me it's a 9. So,
yeah. So we will agree to
different
disagree.
perspectives, yes.
Well, good morning, Joram Paul.
Good morning, Monica. And good morning to our dear viewer, wherever you're catching us from. It's Martyrs' Day. You know, I've been reading about Mama Nyerere, rather, the wife to the late and first president of Tanzania, of the People's Republic of Tanzania. That is Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Now, Mama Nyerere has been coming to Uganda for the past years, since 2007. And the only 2 years she didn't turn up after 2007 was during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 and 2021 because of the restriction in movement. And she is in the country as well. And also, 1st June in Namugongo has always been termed as Julius Nyerere Day, as we are preparing for the Martyrs' Day on 3rd. So she was also in Namugongo. She's a staunch Catholic. So I've been reading about her story and how she is dedicated to always coming from Tanzania with her family and, of course, some other relatives to come for the Namugongo prayers every 3rd June. And then also yesterday, I was able to see a group of those from South Sudan around Chirek as they were trekking to Namugongo, which clearly shows you that many people are following the same kind of belief in their faith to make sure that they remember the Uganda martyrs on such a fruitful day. It is an example that reflects within our lives today. And well, though on the sad note, I've been able to also observe this morning that it does seem like not so many Ugandans are appreciating public holidays, because when you look at what is on the streets of Kampala and the traffic jam as early as 6, you get to realize that some people have not put their mind to a public holiday apart from the faithfuls. But nonetheless, here we are, Good Morning Uganda, to make sure that a viewer out there does not miss anything coming in from Namugongo.
Are you talking about the people that were leaving certain places when you were on your way to work?
Not only those. I'm looking at those who are waking up in the morning to go and work, open up their businesses. You know, Uganda is a very,
when it comes to the
unpredictable
business
country.
community, in most cases, they would rather use every day to make some money, because as you know, most of them live paycheck to paycheck or hand to mouth. So they can't afford to lose a day as is saying that it's a public holiday. But when it comes to people in corporate organizations, that is in the private sector and even in government institutions, most of those ones are at home. Now, Sonko, I'd like to pick your mind on the belief that the colonialists used the events that happened with the martyrs, the killing of the martyrs, to actually gain public support in order to annex and get Uganda, to take over Uganda. Do you think that the Kabaka, unfortunately, ordering the martyrs to be killed, that he actually shot himself in the foot with that?
It goes both ways for me, because one, it was a starting point for not only evangelism, but also a starting point for colonialism to prevail. Because when you look at how the missionaries came in, first it was to soften the hearts of the African natives. And then when they got, believers to their side, because it is a 50-50, we had those who could remain to their traditional beliefs, and those ones were still attached to the kingdom. So now the 50% that was bought in by the missionaries was a clear indication to the colonialists who would then come to make sure that they colonize Africa, because they realized that, well, if we could have some people who could believe in our religion, then that means if we are to bring in the political kind of thing and try to also take over the territories, it would be very easy. And of course, also the king got criticized for, for the execution of his subjects, which was also something, even up to today, when you look at how the politics plays, you get to realize that your opponent will definitely use your weakest point to put you down. So it was a win-win kind of thing on the other side, because the colonialists would then use such an act to preach against the rule of the king.
And make him look bad to his people. And it is said that the colonialists came with a Bible in one hand and a gun in the other, soften the hearts of people, and then take over their land, take over their country, take their minerals, because we know what history says and what has been done, especially to the African continent, by those that came and scrambled and partitioned the continent into what we know right now. They drew the boundaries, demarcated everywhere, whereby it is said that some countries were bigger than others, but now some of their territories were taken by their neighboring countries just because the colonialists decided that it was suitable and it was beneficial to them. Now, Chantal, coming back to today, many people have been seen, I've seen pictorials of many faithfuls in Namugongo partaking of some, what they call holy water, right within the Namugongo area. And some people have been criticizing that, and others have been saying that, you know what, if people have faith and they believe that this water is healing, it's going to give them miracles, then why not? What are your thoughts on that?
Does that help?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't. Well, it goes to say that our minds have really been infiltrated to a particular degree, and I cannot stand here and maybe water down someone's beliefs because I do not know where they picked them from. But as an individual, I don't see how that water that has been in that place and not attended to properly is going to be holy water that saves my day or treats me or something like that. And So if someone has been doing this pilgrimage every single year and taking that water and their life has not changed, isn't it time they started thinking otherwise about that water? I'm just saying.
Well,
it almost sounds like the holy rice we've heard about, and the holy water in some other church as well that we've heard about. Yeah.
well, the Bible says that if you have faith as small as the mustard seed, then that's faith can move mountains. Do you maybe think that some people believe that if they have that kind of faith, then this water could probably heal them or give them blessings?
There's a time I visited Namugongo Shrine, and I was told that part of where some of those wells are the exact spots where people were burnt from. Do you get what I'm saying? And now those exact spots are where people are picking water from, and they are saying this is water that's going to give them luck and stuff like that. But then also the question goes to now the Christians that preach this gospel and all. Aren't you saying that people are now praising the water instead of God? Aren't you now idolizing the water instead of God?
Well, it goes without saying. It could be both ways. Both could be true, or both could be wrong, or both could meet in the middle. Because it is also said that God is not going to come down from heaven to make a miracle, but he will use people and he will use other vessels. The word says that if you do not listen, then I will use anything. That God can even use stones, right? That's in the Bible. So probably they believe that maybe God could bless this water, like what happened at the well, and these people could be free. But that is faith, and of course we are not here to say that who does what is wrong. We just say that exercise caution as you do some of these things. If you do not, like they say, if you do not have a certain kind of level of spirituality, you should not be exercising certain demons. So the same goes with the water. Your faith has to be to a certain degree for you to take it and it doesn't affect you negatively. But with that being said, we have news that has been prepared for you, and we'll delve into the local news. Chantal will take us through the international news, and later on we will have Joram Paul Sonko on the press review. And starting with the local news, we still go to Namgongo and start with the Martyrs Day preparations. All is set for 3rd June Martyrs Day celebrations to be animated by Nebi Diocese at the Uganda Martyrs Catholic Basilica at Namgongo. The spokesperson of Nebi Diocese in charge of Martyrs Day celebrations, Father Emmanuel Ochokuru, confirms that the diocese is ready for today's celebrations. The Mass, slated for 9 a.m., will be led by the Bishop of Nebi Diocese, Right Reverend Raphael Pimoni Wokorach, the Ordinary Bishop of Nebi Diocese. The choir composition is 300 singers drawn from all parishes of Nebi Catholic dioceses and others attached to Nebi in Kampala. The choir director says today marks the climax after 8 months of preparation. Nebi Diocese started preparation for this year's celebration about 8 months ago after being chosen to animate the Martyrs Day by the Episcopal Conference of Uganda. The choir will perform in different languages, including Alu, Madi Lugbara and Luganda, Toro, Luo, Karamajong, Runyankore, and Spanish, English, plus Lingala. The choir, divided into 4 sessions, started training in December before embarking on the 4 weeks rigorous training to perfection. It is the second time in 17 years Nebi Catholic Diocese is animating the Martyrs Day celebrations. The last was in 2007. Now moving on, still Martyrs Namgongo and Martyrs Day celebrations. Over 200 pilgrims have been screened and given first aid at a health camp conducted by the medical team from Mulago Hospital at the Uganda Martyrs Shrine in Namgongo. The internal medicine physician, also the team leader, Dr. Wamala, told UBC that the highest number of cases handled include those with fatigue and dehydration. A highest number of pilgrims who have so far entered Namgongo to celebrate for Martyrs' Day due today, June 3rd, are mainly from the outside. Many of them from far districts have been trekking for kilometers and days. Many of the pilgrims arrived fatigued, some nursing red eyes and others, the elderly, having hypertension. At a free health camp conducted by Mulago National Referral Hospital, over 200 pilgrims had been screened and given first aid. So far, they have handled mild cases, and those with a few emergency cases, especially elderly with hypertension, have been referred for further management. All services offered to the pilgrims were free. Among other health services pilgrims are receiving from the health camp include immunization for the children, yellow fever vaccination, and deworming to manage effects of poor hygiene. Pilgrims have been advised to take precaution on their hygiene arising from congestion. Now moving on, Her Excellency, the Vice President of Uganda, Jessica Alupo, has said that Uganda welcomes all missionary work, adding that the Constitution of Uganda guarantees freedom of worship for all the citizens of Uganda. Speaking during the Sunday prayers at Shinshengi Church in Seoul at the sidelines of the Korea African Summit, the Vice President commended Christians of the church for helping Ugandans by constructing schools in Teso region, especially Kumi and Katakwi. The Vice President said that such good gestures have helped many rural children access better education in permanent school structures, which boosts their morale for learning for the pupils as well as of teaching for the teachers. She prayed for reciprocal exchange visits of the people of Katakwi to the Korean church, like was the gesture when some Korean youth in Katakwi visited Katakwi in the past. Uganda and South Korea have had excellent bilateral relations for the last 61 years, and that the sister countries will continue coexisting in peace and development. And lastly, the Prime Minister, Robin Nabbanja, has once again made a prompt inspection of the Kampala roads under construction, vowing to continue until the contractors deliver the roads they were contracted to complete. The roads contracted to China Railway 18th Bureau Group include several key roads in Kampala, but the construction work is being delayed. The poor condition of roads in Kampala has long been an issue, with Ugandans accusing the government of neglecting the city, resulting in numerous potholes. Prime Minister Nabbanja's campaign to address the situation in Kampala began at Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, where she questioned the landlord who allegedly constructed a fence on the road reserve. Nabbanja asked the landlord to reach an agreement with the government. If he refuses, the government will have no option but to remove the fence to allow the project to continue. The Prime Minister also visited Suna 1 and Suna 2 in the areas of Zana, Kabowa and Bunamwaya. She stated that the President is well informed about her inspections and vowed to cancel the contracts of the Chinese company if the contractors fail to deliver the roads as agreed. The Prime Minister was accompanied by technical officers from the Office of the Prime Minister and Kampala Capital City Authority, Deputy Executive Director David Luyimbazi. The China Farm, China Railway 18th Bureau Group, was contracted to work on several Kampala roads. And with that, we round up the local news, but we still have more in the realm of international news, and Chantal Oliver Kandinda will take us through that.
Well, briefly on the updates, what is happening globally now. The U.S. expects Israel to accept Gaza's ceasefire plan if Hamas does accept. Now, the U.S. government has every expectation that Israel will accept the ceasefire proposal that would begin with a 6-week cessation of hostilities in Gaza if Hamas takes the deal, according to the National Security Council person, spokesman, that is John Kirby. Now, the 3-part plan unveiled by President Joe Biden last week would be a surge of humanitarian aid, as well as an exchange of some hostages for Palestinian prisoners before a permanent end of the war. This very proposal, however, has met with vocal opposition from some members of the Israel's government, and negotiations come as fighting continues in Rafah, which came under intense Israeli strikes over the weekend. And according to statistics, we have about another 1.7 million people that are estimated to be displaced in Khan Younis and parts of central Gaza, and also we do have parts that have been really left unattended too. And this also, we are waiting for, this according to John Kirby, we are waiting for an official response from Hamas, and saying that the U.S. hoped that both sides agreed to start the first phase of the plan as soon as possible. Now, in other news, according to Donald Trump, his wife has been hit very hard by the hush money trial, and we are talking about the former First Lady, Melania Trump. Now, last week, the jurors found Mr. Trump guilty of falsifying business records to conceal the hush money payments that were made to former porn star Stormy Daniels during the 2016 presidential election campaigns. Now, with the verdict, he became the first U.S. president to be convicted of a crime, and he has repeatedly called the trial rigged and politically motivated. But according to him, his wife has been the most affected because of the details that were unearthed during the trial that seemed to put his wife off. And away from that, we come back to Africa and check what is happening in South Africa. We all do know that they took it to the polls. Now, South Africa president faces up to poor poll results. The ANC, once led by Nelson Mandela, won 159 seats in the 400-seat parliament on Wednesday's election, down from 230 in the previous assembly. And Mr. Ramaphosa still described the results as a victory for democracy, calling on rival parties to find common ground, apparently preparing for coalition talks, as we had earlier on mentioned. Now, the Opposition Democratic Alliance Party has said it is open to coalition talks with Mr. Ramaphosa, but it opposes a number of his government's key priorities. With all the votes counted, the ANC finished on 40%, down from 58% at the previous election, the Electoral Commission announced yesterday. And well, that does it for what is happening across the world.
Now, coming back from across the world, we get back to the news review and see what the dailies from Uganda and other East African countries have for us as of today, June 3rd. Jerome Paul.
All right, now with the new vision, landlords ordered out of markets. The exercise is targeting public markets and is set to last 10 days, according to what the new vision is highlighting. Then also, Matters singing competition winners have been announced. At the front page, you can see those who emerged victorious as the winners of the competition. Now, religion, millions throng Namugongo for Matters Day, says the new vision, as Prince Wasaja speaks out on Kabaka's health. Then you can find out more about Norbert Mau's glamorous wedding, a glimpse of whatever happened over the weekend in northern Uganda. Now, also the Daily Monitor, miracles that made the Uganda Matters. Find details about it today. As Church of Uganda clears church house loan, more details and what a story to kickstart off the Matters Day celebrations. Then also in the other news, Bad Black's ex-fiancé charged over arms trade. An interesting report. Then 2 Ugandan women rescued from traffickers. Which women and where were they found? Find more details in the Daily Monitor. Life and the Times of Pilgrim who died on Walk of Faith. Find details in the Daily Monitor. Then in the healthy living perspective, swap unhealthy foods with healthier options? Which options can you look out for as alternatives? Then also, here's my prayer. Children share why they walked to Namugongo, as you can also get a pull out of a free copy of Matters Day special magazine in the Daily Monitor. Now we head to Kenya. The highlight in Kenya is Tanga Tanga as you wish, Ruto tells members of parliament. Then why students are shunning degrees for TVET diplomas. Then parastatal budgets slashed by 40% ahead of mergers and closures. Then also Kenya back in 7 series Shuja. In 7 series Shuja rally past Germany in playoffs to qualify for World Sevens Series. Then we head to Tanzania because the Citizen newspaper is highlighting what it means as 2 global giants now operate the Dar port. Economists and industry experts have voiced their optimism about the future performance of Dar es Salaam port, whose operations are now under 2 global logistics giants. And there is Sultan Ahmed bin Suleim, who is the DP World Group Chairman and CEO, as well as Mr. Gautam Adani Group Chairman, who is also part of those controlling the Dar port. Then Tanzania, South Korea strengthened ties with new agreements. Then in the national communications news, how to increase internet penetration in Tanzania as HIV infections among girls aged 15 to 24 double in 7 years. That is also in Tanzania. Now lastly, from our press review is the East African newspaper. EAC is in limbo on cash crisis, as also the East African economic model we want. You can find more details of that in today's East African. Then battered, ANC takes stock 6 coalition, according to what the East African is highlighting. Then no respite for besieged Ugandan speaker, says the East African newspaper. So find details of what is being highlighted from all those papers that you can see in today's edition.
Well, thank you, Jerome Paul. Now, we will take a short break, and when we come back, we will still have a conversation regarding Matters Day and Matters. So we would like for you to be a part of this conversation when we come back for the news reel. But for now, we are taking a short break and leaving you with the song of the day that is from Alec Benjamin, Let Me Down Slowly. The time, and as we know history all across the world, kings were supreme. Their word was the last. And when they ordered that you be guillotined or be murdered or be burned for whatever reason, that's exactly what happened. And in the case of the Matters, this is exactly what happened. So we will be having these conversations. Stick with us. It's going to be a roller coaster that you're going to enjoy because we have so much coming your way. But for now, let me check on the team and see how the weekend was, and of course how the rides to work have been. Personally, I've seen a lot in terms of the pilgrims that are going to Namugongo. I've seen roads closed off, especially when you're coming from the sides of Chira. That entire stretch going to Chaliwajala has been closed off, so you can't use it. You have to go through Nigeria. Good morning, Chantal.
Good morning, Olive. Welcome back from the weekend.
Thank you. Welcome back.
Thank you.
How was it?
Oh, mine was great. I can't complain. It was wonderful.
Yeah, indeed it was. I know it was. Well, I'm doing well as well. I'm ready for the new week, ready to celebrate the Matters Day today, and looking forward to how the day unfolds, and also looking forward to how the week itself unfolds. I believe it's going to be a great week.
Well, according to you, and of course, according to what history says, do you believe that the Martyrs were killed just because they were faithful? Or do you believe with some historians who say, no, they were just rebellious?
I would not stand on one side and say it's because they were faithful, because there are different perspectives. The people of the people that believed in the kingdom then believed they were rebellious. But then those who were in Christianity believed that they were dying because of their faith. And the two can be right on the different grounds and can be wrong on the different grounds. So I would say if it matters Christianity and religion, then they died for the faith. and that is that is a fight that we can say ended because of the faith they had. But then when it comes to how culture had been, to how we had been operating as a country, it was rebellious because all we had known was that, for example, in Uganda there were different gods, and you only had to obey who you were seeing, who was the king of Uganda. And at this point, you are disobeying the king and believing in a power or someone that you can't even see, and definitely that would be looked at as rebellion.
And you're saying that this power that you can't see is a supreme King of Kings, Lord of Lords. How
Yet the
dare
king
you
of
even
king, yet
say
the
that?
king that we know is the king that is on the throne.
Yes.
So you realize there was a conflict between Christianity and culture at that point. That is why that's why I say on the two angles, if we drew a 6 right now, if you stood in front of me and the 6 was facing up, I'll tell you it's a 6, you tell me it's a 9. So
Yeah. So we will agree to
different
disagree.
perspectives, yes.
Well, good morning, Joram Paul.
Good morning, Monica. And good morning to our dear viewer, wherever you're catching us from. It's Matters Day. You know, I've been reading about Mama Nyerere, rather, the wife to the late and first president of Tanzania, of the People's Republic of Tanzania, that is Mwalimu Julius Nyerere. Now, Mama Nyerere has been coming to Uganda for the past years, since 2007. And the only 2 years she didn't turn up after 2007 was during the COVID-19 pandemic of 2020 and 2021 because of the restriction in movement. And she is in the country as well. And also, 1st June in Namugongo has always been termed as Julius Nyerere Day, as we are preparing for the Matters Day on 3rd. So she was also in Namugongo. She's a staunch Catholic. So I've been reading about her story and how she is dedicated to always coming from Tanzania with her family and of course some other relatives to come for the Namugongo prayers every 3rd June. And then also yesterday, I was able to see a group of those from South Sudan around Chirekas. They were trekking to Namugongo, which clearly shows you that many people are following the same kind of belief in their faith to make sure that they remember the Uganda matters on such a fruitful day. It is an example that reflects within our lives today. And well, though on the sad note, I've been able to also observe this morning that it does seem like not so many Ugandans are appreciating public holidays, because when you look at what is on the streets of Kampala and the traffic jam as early as 6, you get to realize that some people have not put their mind to a public holiday apart from the faithfuls. But nonetheless, here we are, Good Morning Uganda, to make sure that a viewer out there does not miss anything coming in from Namugongo.
Are you talking about the people that were leaving certain places when you were on your way to work?
Not only those. I'm looking at those who are waking up in the morning to go and work, open up their businesses. You know, Uganda is a very,
when it comes to the
unpredictable
business
country.
community, in between January 31st, 1885 and 1st January 1887, the then king of Buganda, now part of Uganda, Kabaka Mwanga II, ordered for the killing of the men that we now know as the Uganda Martyrs. Well, according to historians, some are on the fence as to why the martyrs were killed. Some believe that the martyrs were rebellious. Others believe that no, these men were faithful. And some like to liken this story to the story of Meshach, Abednego in the fire, and of course others liken it to the story of Daniel in the den of lions. So on which side of this story are you? Do you believe that the martyrs were murdered because of their faith, because the king could not stand being upstaged by another king that is known as the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords? Or Were they just rebellious to the times and against the rules of the time? Now that's the conversation that we are delving into this morning as Uganda joins the rest of the world to celebrate the as Uganda commemorates the Martyrs' Day. Well, it is the rest of the world joining Uganda to remember the men of Vela that were murdered at the orders of the then King Kabaka Mwanga II. According to history, there were 22 Catholic martyrs and 23 Anglican martyrs that were murdered between the years of 1885 and 1887. And today, June 3rd, we remember them. Now, I will be having this conversation regarding the martyrs. And the question we are asking today, are there secrets in the martyrs' story? Is there something that we don't know? Is there something that we have not been told? Has this story been, sugar-coated? Has it been given some flowers enough or not enough? Are we getting the actual story, or we are just going with sentiments and, of course, going with faith and spirituality without looking deeper into the issue? This is what we are looking at this morning. And I'm having this conversation with Christopher Amos Chikomeko, and he is a lay evangelist at Namirembe Diocese Mission Department. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Good Morning Uganda.
Good morning, viewers. It's true, I'm from Namirembe Diocese as a lay evangelist in the Department of Mission, and I'm happy to be here.
Well, and we are happy to have you. And as you know, there are so many questions.
Yes.
When it comes to the story of the martyrs. Now, growing up, this is a story I love to hear. I mean, people dying for their faith. Yes. And of course, it goes to you go to personally ask yourself, if it were up to me, what choice would I take? Exactly. Would I decide to die for my faith? Exactly. Or would I decide to, keep my life, okay? Because one thing I know for sure is that most human beings, we all know that we are going to die, but we are very afraid yes. of death when it beckons. But correct. Before we even delve into the martyr's story, I would like to know what inspired you to study and get yourself well acquainted with the story of the martyrs?
I think it's my background. I'm an auditor. I'm an accountant stroke auditor, CPAK. And I am now retired. Okay. So when I retired, I ventured into writing local history. And I have a few books I've written. And as an auditor, I found that I don't just accept stories the way they were told. I dig deeper, because that's what auditing is all about. You find out what happened in the, when you are not there. Yes. And that's what I've actually done on the Uganda matters, to find out. To find out. Yeah.
So you're the right person to answer some of those questions. So today we are settling some issues here, exactly. Scores. Exactly. Okay, now, so can you provide a brief overview regarding the matters?
One correction. You gave a date, 31st January 1885.
That's what Wikipedia has.
To January 1887.
Yes.
Now that period, I want to correct the end one, to May 1887.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there was one called Mwanga Namave. That one was the last one. Ah. The one in January.
Is he less known? Is that why
he's
probably?
Less known because even the exact spot is not known, and is even known to recognized or marked.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes sense as to why probably whoever has been writing about the matters has not captured that one.
Exactly.
But still, an overview.
An overview is basically the fact that there is a very hidden secret by a gentleman called the Katikkiro of Uganda, Mukasa Muzinga. And that the role he played changes the whole story of the Uganda matters.
Okay.
It is very important to keep him a secret, because once you delve into him, then you lose focus. You lose focus on the Uganda matters, and then you realize, oh my God, there was some internal politics going on in the kingdom. So basically that's it.
Ah, okay. Interesting one. Now, I would like for us to go step by step.
Okay.
You did say that, but before we continue, what you see on the screen is what Namgongo looks like. As of this morning, we will be bringing you a live feed from Namgongo, but for now, everything is ready. Celebrations about to kick off. The place looks very beautiful. A lot of work has been put into this. Government released over 2 billion shillings for the preparation of the Matters celebrations. So we will be bringing you a live feed later on, but for now, we continue with our conversation. And my guest here said there is a big secret by the then Katikiro of Uganda. What's this secret? I want to know.
His name was Mukasa Muzinga. He succeeded a man called Mulere as Katikiro. Mulere had died. And we must appreciate that in those days, to be a county chief or to be a Saza chief was equivalent to being a senior cabinet minister. So if the Kabaka was to call his cabinet, he would expect the Katikiro and all the Saza chiefs. So those were the cabinet members. And this Pokino, or Saza chief of Budu, Mukasa Muzinga, got the favor of becoming the new Katikiro after Mulere. This was in around 1876. Now, Mulere had succeeded his father as Pokino. That is the county chief of Budu. And within months, of course, you will ask, how did Mutesa get to know him so quickly? Because he's a cabinet member. So in the cabinet, Mutesa must have seen this young Mulere and said, this is my man. By the way, he wasn't that young. And then got his favor, he became the Katikiro. But there is a secret. Mulere and his father and family, they were sorcerers, witches. In fact, as Katikiro, he was a witch. Now, arriving in the palace, what does he see? Muslims everywhere, speaking Kiswahili, Arabic. And to him, that was a threat to sorcery, to witchcraft. And he began to fight there, and then he had to get rid of this Islamic faith. I'm talking of 1876. That was before the missionaries arrived.
Okay.
And without going into much details there, it was because of him that the Kabaka got rid of the first matters or religious matters at Namugongo. According to the diary of Emin Pasha, who was a visitor in the palace, he recorded that he was told about 70 Muslims were killed at Namugongo for despising the way the Kabaka used to lead Juma prayers. Apparently, he was the one in charge of Juma prayers, refused to be circumcised. He used to go for Juma prayer leadership wearing those wooden sandals. They used to call them Mikalaranda.
Yes.
Yeah, so he refused to remove them. He was asked to face Mecca. He refused. He said, as king, how could he risk facing one side? What if he's assassinated? And so they began backbiting him. And when Mukasa arrived, the backbiting was so terrible, and he took advantage of that. He said, you as a king, everybody is backbiting you. Why don't we get and punish all these? And this I was like, oh yeah, we go ahead. And so 70 of them lost their lives, and the Katikiro now began to strategize on how to get rid of the Islamic faith from the palace. And he started with a mosque. They used to call it Muzingiti, not Muzikiti, but Muzingiti. And he transformed the Muzingiti into a traditional shrine. Can you imagine? A shrine now in the palace. And he was very happy. He was winning. So when the Christian missionaries arrived the following year, it was a shock to him. How could he have succeeded to get rid of one group only for a fresh group to arrive? Because in June, the Christian missionaries arrived, the Anglicans. And then, of course, 3 years later, the Roman Catholics. So he began to strategize on how to amass more power in order to get rid of this new group.
So what you're saying is that in as much as the story goes that the Kabaka ordered for the killing, or even I should call it a massacre, because if you say 70 Muslims were killed at the time, so the story goes that the Kabaka ordered for the killing of these people, but there was someone behind, there was someone pushing, basically adding firewood to the fire.
With a reason, he wants sorcery to return in the palace, to get rid of what he does not believe in as a new curriculum. And that is the Islamic faith, and later on, the Christian faith.
The Christian faith, yes.
And then Mutesa dies. Now, there is another secret. Before Mutesa died, there was trouble in the palace. There was smallpox. I think in the early 1880s, Mutesa lost 2 princes, Prince Junju and Prince Ruswata. And then in 1881, Prince Rashid Karema and Prince Mawanda were playing over a loaded single barrel gun, which was loaded, and it went off. So Prince Mawanda died, and he was the favorite of the Kabaka to succeed him. And so he got very, very worried, and he ordered that the remaining prince, who was Mwanga, by then he was about 14, 15, be rushed to his brother's palace on Bunamwaya Hill, Kiwewa. You know, Kiwewa has never become kings. So he was very safe. He would be very safe with Chiwewa. So when Mwanga arrived in the Chiwewa palace, what does he find? 2 pages, Kato and Waswa. Now this Waswa is among the names of the matters we are remembering at Namugongo today. And these Kato and Waswa were attending catechism classes at Kasubirubya, the mission of the White Fathers.
Yes.
So whenever they return to Kiwewa's palace at Bunamwaya, they will tell Mwanga, this is what we learned today. Okay, Mwanga had been exposed to how to write and read, so that was not a problem. But this Christian literature, Mwanga began to get information, Mwanga began to get interested, and no one wants to talk about that. Everybody talks about Mwanga as somebody who hated Christians, who hated Christianity, which is not true. So when his father died in 1884, and he became the king at the age of 18, a boy, not even a man. The first royal act he did was to invite the Roman Catholic missionaries to return to Uganda, because Mutesa had chased them away in 1882. Why? They gave him wrong medicine. Not wrong, but medicine that didn't work. He was sickly. And so according to him, maybe they wanted to kill him. How could they not give him the right medicine? So he kicked them out. They went to Tanganyika. So the first act he did was to ask them to return home. And Katikiro Mukasa could not understand. What? This young man, barely 18, how does he even know that the Roman Catholics were sent away? He didn't know that the young man has been exposed to Christian teaching and that he liked it. As a matter of fact, the other secret is Mwanga was very pro-Roman Catholic.
Wow, interesting conversation right here. We are asking, are there secrets in the Matters story? And from what I'm hearing right now, there are indeed secrets that we didn't know, because it is now being said that the first people to die for their faith were 70 Muslims, and not at the hands of Kabaka Mwanga, but at the hands of his father, Mutesa the First. Now we hear that Kabaka Mwanga actually was pro the Catholic religion, and he invited the Roman Catholics back to the country. Interesting revelations here that I'm having with Mr. Christopher Amos Chikomeko, and he is a lay evangelist at Namirembe Diocese Mission Department. Please stick with us, because this conversation continues, and later on we will be bringing you a live feed from Namugongo, where the Matters Day celebrations are taking place today. But for now, we continue with the conversation. On to the secrets regarding the Matters story. You know, they always say that every day you learn something,
Yes,
and you can never say that you know it all. Because the story I've had all my life has been Kabaka Mwanga hated religion, against religion, ordered for the murder. That's the story we know. And now here we are learning something different. But before we continue with this story, I'm curious. You see, most of our story as Africans has been written by someone else, has been written by our colonialists. And because of that, a lot has been hidden away from us. So how do you get your hands onto such information?
Very interesting question. There is what we call archives in our major universities. The biggest, of course, is Makerere library archives. And when you enter there, you'll be amazed. They have what they call papers. The Ham Mukasa papers. The Aparokagwa papers. The Kisosonkole papers. So I'm giving you examples.
Yes.
Now, these are not very interesting papers because they are not dirty, they are very clean, they have no pastes, but it takes time and patience to go one by one, and their correspondences. Is writing a letter, is writing something to ask the missionary. So once you go piece by piece, you discover a lot of things. And who do I find there? Wazungus. You find Chinese there, you find British there, very busy, one by one. You never find Africans. You never find Makerere students there. You wonder, no wonder we'll always...
So, another question. Now that you mentioned that this information has been there all this time, how come we don't know it? How come it has not been put on public for us? How come when I search, let's say on Google, for a story about Uganda matters, I can't find it?
The problem is us, especially as Ugandans, our reading culture is so poor. I've just told you, when you go to that archive, there are no Makerere students. There are none. All you find there are researchers from abroad. So that's one. Because we don't, so that means nobody will ever discover that and write. And I think I should give you news that then I'll be the first, because I'm writing.
A book is coming out?
I'm writing, a book is coming out.
Interesting.
But I want that book to celebrate 150 years of the Church of Uganda, which will be in 2027. So the process is ongoing.
The process is ongoing. Yes. Now let's get back to the story of the matters.
All right.
So Kabaka Mwanga invites the Roman Catholics back to Uganda, and the Katikiro is not amused.
Is not amused.
What happens thereafter?
Before we go to the what after, he had amassed more powers.
The Katikiro.
The Katikiro.
Yes.
And he calculated very well because he realized the Kabaka would die. The ailment was not getting cured. So how did he amass more powers? He asked him to remain the Pokino. So he remained Pokino. He also asked him to promote him and become the Sechibobo, county chief of Chagwe.
Okay.
And so I told you these are cabinet positions.
Yes.
So he was now the Katikiro and with 2 extra cabinet positions. So that means when he sat in the cabinet, oh my God, he was very powerful. He was very powerful because even the Kabaka could not attend cabinet sessions anymore. He was sick or he was ill. Then he also decided to convince the Kabaka that you as a sick Kabaka, if you gave me more powers and we became more related, it meant you are very safe. So can we become covenanted brothers? And the Kabaka accepted poor him, he was ill. So they became covenanted brothers.
What do you mean by covenanted brothers?
You exchange your blood. You cut your navel, the belly button. Blood oozes out. Then you get a grain. You exchange each other's blood with a grain and you eat it. Then you have become blood brothers. Even your children can succeed each other's blood. So the Katikiro became a prince, a manufactured prince, because now he's a brother to the king. That was one strategy, to make him very close to the Kabaka. Then the other one, he married a sister of the Kabaka. Of course, there was polygamy then, so this was just an additional wife.
Yes.
So the Katikiro now became a brother-in-law to the king, whereas others called the Kabaka Kabaka. For him, he would say Moko. Now that was making him very close to the Kabaka. And all these were strategies to amass power.
He was extremely strategic.
So that then when he targets what he wants, to get rid of all these religions, he will have it all. And so, in 1885, as you correctly said, in January, Alexander Mackay decides to go shopping south of Lake Victoria, and he picks 3 boys to accompany him. He got permission for himself. He forgot to ask permission for the boys. And Katikiro Mukasa said, aha, this is the starting point. Of course, it was a crime to abandon this country without permission. And the boys were found guilty. And the Katikiro was like, fine, we can forgive them, but there is a condition. This Christianity which they go and learn at Natete, can they deny it? Can they renounce it? If they do, they are free to go. And the young men refused. Serwanga, Lugarama, Kakumba. So he strategized that let it be a public show. Let us show the kingdom when you defy what can happen to you, especially when you defy with this so-called Christianity. So that's how they became the first martyrs of Uganda at Busega. It was publicly done with a strategy that let the people see what can happen to people who refuse to renounce Christianity.
So this first event, this first murder, it wasn't actually at the orders of either the then King Mutesa or even his prince Mwanga.
I want us to remember that in 1885, Mwanga was actually becoming 20 years.
Yes.
Yeah? So 20 years. So
Was Mutesa still
dead? He was already dead in 1882.
Okay.
So now we are in 85.
Oh, okay.
This young king is just around 21. So he's really a boy. He's looking up to the father who is so powerful for everything.
He's looking up to the father that became his father because of the covenant that was made with his father, the late
power
king.
he had when he became king. And so he had no alternative but to listen. But of course, as king, the order had to come from him for the killing of the martyrs.
Now, if I were to speak like a lawyer, it sounds like he was coerced.
Of course. Of course. Because as a young boy of 21, what do you know? What can you really judge? Apart from asking your advisors. And he was the main advisor. Let's kill them. Let's kill them. Let's show the world that when you refuse to renounce Christianity, what would happen to you? There is another secret. In Berlin in 1884, Africa had been partitioned to the great powers. And the Arabs knew. So the Arabs, because with the Islamic faith, Arabs were all over the place, they had informed the Katikiro that Africa has been partitioned. Very soon they'll come for you. As far as you are concerned, the British are likely to take over here. So that was ringing in their mind. And guess what? They hear news that a Muzungu is coming from the east, which was that taboo. Nobody was allowed to pass through Buganda's back door. Why? Because when Kintu was conquering this area used to have people called Abawawa. It was the Muwawa nation, led by Abala Sange, not Kabakas.
Okay,
and
so
we had about 50 of them.
Okay, so now I want us, before we come to the end, to come closer to the time when now the order is given and how the order is given to murder now the rest of the martyrs.
The order is not given as such. Circumstances lead to the order.
Which circumstances are these?
You've made an offense by abandoning duty, because that's what really happened.
Those are the first ones.
Even the second ones.
Okay.
Even in the one of Huntington, the one I wanted to talk about, Joseph Barikudembe, abandonment of duty. So even the Namugongo ones, abandonment of duty. So that was the circumstance.
So abandonment of duty to go study catechism.
Exactly, instead of royal duties.
Okay.
And then the biggest question was, what do we do? The category was, let's kill them. Mwanga was, wait a minute. Why don't we kill only those who refuse to renounce Christianity? So that we save those who renounce Christianity and are willing to reform. So there was that chance.
He was trying to save.
And that's what makes them martyrs, because they made a choice. They were going to be let free if they renounced. They didn't. They chose to die. That's what makes them martyrs. So that is very important. That even those who say, I know this was political, they fail to recognize that wait a minute, they had a choice. Even if it was political, there was a choice. They chose to die for Christ. That's what makes them martyrs.
This is deep. Very deep and very interesting. But my takeaway from this story is that in as much as history has vilified the late Kabaka Mwanga, actually I feel like with your studying of the martyr's story, you have actually, what's the word? You have cleared his name, so to speak. Because from now what I hear, a 21-year-old king looking up to a man that had so much power, a man that even his father trusted, what could he have done?
Exactly.
What could he have done?
Exactly. That is very, very, very true. And by the year 1888, when the martyrdom was all over, there is another secret, the digging of the Kabaka's Lake in Ndeba.
Okay,
That is
briefly
also
as we
another
close.
story.
Uh-huh.
The missionaries don't want us to know, but the digging is very interesting. That's what made the world discover, or us historians, that actually not all Christians had been got rid of. Because as they dug, they were singing Christian songs. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, later they they divided themselves into shifts, and that later resulted into arming themselves and overthrowing Mwanga.
The Christians.
But it was a combination of everybody, Muslims, Christians, they all combined and overthrew Mwanga because Mwanga wanted to extend the lake from Ndeba through Kabowa to Kajansi to Lake Victoria. He wanted the waters to travel by boat. And they rebelled. They said
Wouldn't
no.
that
But
have been
the
amazing?
Bazungu don't want us to know that. Why? Because it exposes the story that, hey, wait a minute, you mean there were other Christians around? Yes, there were. So this was not about killing all the Christians. It was, you made an offense, let's get rid of you, but renounce. They refused to renounce, they become martyrs, but others were there. And exposed by the lake digging. So the Bazungu, they jump that time, they don't want to talk about it. Instead, they talk about how Mwanga planned to carry everybody to the islands and drown them in the sea. That's what they write in their books. But why? Why drown them? That because they are Christians. Where did they come from? Very interesting to discover these secrets.
Very interesting. Now, as we close, please tell us more about what happened to this very powerful Katikiro.
During the coup in 1888, the one I've just talking about, the lake diggers ganging Christian Muslims, and then they overthrow him. That's when they killed him.
Oh, they killed him.
They killed him, and they took the body to Kasubi because he was a manufactured prince. And then the royals refused to bury him there.
At the tombs.
And so they agreed to bury him at the entrance. So when you arrive at the Kasubi royal tombs, the very first hut as you enter, that's where the grave of the Katikiro is. So he was buried there as a rejected semi-prince. Because you can only be a prince by blood, not by manufacturing.
Well, according to the laws of the time, a covenant could bring you closer to something like that.
The princes didn't agree. For them, they said, no, a prince is born. He cannot be.
How old was Kabaka Mwanga when he was exiled?
He was exiled several times. So which exile are you talking about? In 1888? He was around 23 years.
23.
23 years.
Now, this paints a different picture from the picture we have always known. And this is the thing about history. You always learn something new, especially if you dig deeper into the issue and try to find out more for yourself. Now, I've grown up with the Matters story, and I believe so have you. And the story that we've always known, now there is another twist to it, which makes me believe that probably these orders, yes, were given by the Kabaka Mwanga because he was the Kabaka, but because he was being coerced by someone more powerful, by someone that was more strategic, over-ambitious, and wanted everything for himself. And that is the Katikiro of the time. What was his name again?
Mukasa Muzinga.
Katikiro Mukasa Muzinga. So if you're a student of history and you love history, probably you could now go on a reading spree to find out more regarding the Matters story. We have been asking the question, are there secrets to the Matters story? And I've been having this conversation with Christopher Amos Chikomeko, who is a lay evangelist at Namirembe Diocese Mission Department. Thank you so much for shedding so much light on the story that we have been told, but in a different way.
Thank you.
And Good Morning Uganda continues. My name is Olive Monica Najima. Stick around because we still have so much more coming your way.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. was brought to you by
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Juko. Yo. Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, a documentary film about our unity as Ugandans and Africans.
Bunyoro would have simply created an East African community that we are looking for today.
The rulers of Bunyoro are actually Luos.
We people who live across the Nile, we are so related from our myth or from just the Nile.
We are the same people and genetically we are even the same people.
We are similar people.
We are one.
Pamoja, we are one.
Use that word, pamoja.
Premiering every week from 3rd February to June 2024 at the National Theatre and Indere Center. Daily screenings are from 4th February to June 2024 at Ham Cinemax and the National Theatre. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko Pamoja?
Maina gangende tubona kiranda Amina. Mu company Air Web Uganda Limited ndi member. Wemba member company eno weyeida twalinga tutuli bulungi nga abashala abe wakawaka. Abashala abe wakawaka tuwemera kuba ami baife nga bonkana abajamu nandanga twidinti abashala tibakozesa ki nanda. UN Women weyeida yatuteekateeka yatwegesa okulunda engege nga abashala. Twatandika beno okudulunda n'okudirisa n'okolaki. Twafuna mu ng'abakyala ababujiri district. Abakyala ababujiri district sofa tuli abakyala 14 abakola project eya web. Abakyala 14 twayawula mu sectors. Mulimu abakyala ba production, abaliisa, mwaba abakyala ba validation, abongera engege omutindo bayongerako omutindo. Twaba n'abakyala ba harvesting, aba harvestinga. Twaba n'abakyala abakola aba marketing. Sector donna did trained era did chedikola ki chedikola project eno tufunye mu nga abakyala government ya ifene ya Uganda njebaza okuja kwe kujanga batulingirira mu nga abakyala abana Uganda eri kujanga etrobingira ebibina bingi. We have UWeb baleta parish development model, we have myoga byona biri kwida muki mu bakyala oba mu bantu abaki aba Uganda.
Mukoke Fish Farmers Association tuli balunzi
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Well, it's good to have you back here on Good Morning Uganda. We are now off to the GMU Tourism Express, where we're going to turn our attention to the Matters Museum in Namugongo at the Anglican site. But before that, we have a quick weather update coming in from the Uganda National Meteorological Authority, a weather forecast for today. with which we start with what is being highlighted or what is being expected to happen in regards to the weather changes. From midnight yesterday or today to about 3 a.m., the weather conditions have been slightly at 19 degrees Celsius. And then from 3 a.m. to 6 a.m., the time we started off the show, it has been at around 18 degrees Celsius, 19 degrees within there. Now, the expectations till the hour of 9 a.m., the expected temperature levels are likely to be around 25 degrees Celsius or below 25 degrees Celsius, according to the Uganda National Meteorological Authority. Then from 9 a.m. to midday, the expectations are to see the weather conditions rise, rather drop to about 26 degrees. Then from 12 p.m. to 3 p.m., we expect some hot temperatures at around 28 degrees Celsius. And then that will slightly drop to 27 degrees between 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. That is also for those that will be attending the prayers there in Namugongo. Then you also look at 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. It will be partly cloudy, according to the forecast, 23 degrees Celsius around there. Then the same will be from 9 p.m. to 12 midnight this very evening at around 22 degrees Celsius. Also partly cloudy in there. Then there is also a traffic management plan for Namugongo for those who are just going in there for the prayers. You can easily see the signs showing you routes for general public access. That is for those that will be using the Jinja-Kampala Highway. There is a normal traffic flow from there. And then in those coming in from Nigeria, the Kira Town Council till the roundabout, it is also general public access routes, as well as normal flow of traffic is highly expected. Then when you look at the parking areas, there are reservations for the VIP routes, especially from Nalia to Charlie Wajala heading to Namugongo. Those are designated for the VIP routes. And then on the Anglican side also is where most of the VIP routes are, from the route of Seta moving to Namugongo. So be ready for some of those traffic interruptions at this particular moment. And of course, by the time we hit 9 a.m., we shall be giving you more details of what is coming in from Namugongo. Now, off to the Tourism Express, because on the side of the Anglican site, there is a museum. This particular museum takes you back, or gives you a simple ride to what really happened and how a number of the martyrs were murdered during that time. The 23 were Anglican, 22 were Catholic. And when you look at the times when most of the tourists, or rather when most of the pilgrims come annually for the celebrations, after the prayers, many head to the side of the museum to also follow the story of what the Uganda martyrs, or what the Uganda martyrs went through. But besides that, there is also a huge significance of such a site in regards to Uganda's tourism, because not only does it attract tourists during Martyrs' Day week, but also after and before. I have Chantal Olive Akaninda with me in studio before we even rush to business. Just a comment or two in regards to the museum and how impactful it is, one for religious tourism and then also for Uganda's tourism industry in general. Well, Chantal, when you look at the Martyrs Museum, many people who actually head to Namugongo are only surprised to even find it there, because some are always driven there to only pray. But they are surprised they find a museum there. That is for those who actually go to the Anglican site. When you look at its significance, what does it add to, one, Uganda's religious tourism, and then also the tourism sector in general?
Well, You know, I was reading about religious tourism, or and it turns out that we have really not marketed it as much as we should. Even when you look at the structure of just how the structure was constructed in the Mugongo, the shrine, how it was constructed, you realize that that alone is enough for someone to come and read about it. If you're someone that likes to fetch that information. For example, did you know that this very building, one, it is in the shape of what we call a kasisida, that's a hut, yeah, which was like the old structures that we had in the different cultures. The Baganda had them, the Westerners had them. So yes, in that kind of structure. Also, did you know that that very building stands on 22 copper pillars, and these are representing the 22 Catholics who were martyrs. And in front of that very same entrance, that is for the Catholic shrine. In front of that also, there is a spot where Charles Rwanga, who was the leader of the Catholics, was burnt from. Now, those are details that are not very much said or talked about. You would have to dig deep and look for them. So that means that the people who we are getting, who are coming, they are coming to see, oh, there were martyrs in Uganda that were burnt, and we're going to see the place where they were burnt from. Yes. But do they know what to expect when they get here? Do they know what to look out for? Or they're just coming, or they're going to the shrine, pay their respects. There is a service that is going to be starting in an hour or two, and then they're back, they're leaving. Yet they could pick some of those details, and we could also pick them and pitch them out there to encourage people to come even after or before the celebrations take place. So for me, the point I've picked so far is that we've not marketed that place enough.
Well, and when it comes to the marketing, just like I did mention, by the way, that at times, for those who head to the Anglican site, many of them are surprised to find that there is also a museum there.
Yes.
So that means we have to do so much to make sure that we market it not only amongst the believers, but also other history students. But not to forget, by the way, when you also look at the Catholic Basilica, I think that is something that attracts very many people who go there to only look at how it is actually shaped.
Yeah, the construction, yes.
Yes, and then also looking at how everything is done. Now, what you're seeing on screen there, that is from the Catholic side, but the first image was from the Anglican side. That is for the Martyrs' Day, where everything is going to be happening.
That is for the Anglican side.
Yeah, that is for the Anglican, where the prayers will be. And that will be the pulpit for the priests that will be leading, including the chief priest who is coming in, who came in from Nigeria. Now, just to take you back to a brief history of the Namugongo Museum, is that when Bishop Mukoyoyo turned 75 in 2013, he realized that he was getting too old and could pass without documenting the real story of the Uganda martyrs, which he first heard at the age of 7 from his grandfather and an eyewitness. The museum was inaugurated by Pope Francis when he visited the country in 2015, which not only helped the site get that much needed publicity, but also made it an important piece of Uganda's religious history. The museum features statues of both the executioners and the victims, and replicas of the prison where victims were detained for a few days before they were killed. Now, that is part of what is inside the museum, as you can see on the screen. And then there is also the executioner's command post, the fireplace. Now, on screen is the fireplace, as well as the torture tree from where the prisoners were tormented before they went to the fireplace. Then the command post section also features replicas of some of the tools that were used to torture and kill prisoners, such as spears and knives. And then the museum is increasingly attracting local and international tourism. The majority of the visitors are students, though. It is something that we have to acknowledge, who are interested in learning about the dark days of and the gruesome violence that was inflicted on Christians. So you can easily see that it is the students who are more
because we are taught those things in SST, and actually it's SST, that's primary.
Yes.
I don't know if you learnt about the martyrs in your high school, but personally I learnt about them in my primary, and that's when we visited.
Just a bit on CRE.
Thank you. And now that's when we got to visit those. But how often do you hear some people say, even our tour companies, when they're organizing these events, usually they will tell you, we have a route that is going to, oh, we have a package, we have a package for the West, we have a package for the East, and then they'll name all these places. But I've barely had anyone, unless if it's Christians, and they're saying, we are coming to Uganda, but would love to visit the Namugongo shrines. Short of that, they don't seem to be even recommended, or they don't seem to be suggested to tourists when they are coming to the country. And I think that is something that we need to, you know, to boost up, because tell me why. It's only now that we see over thousands, hundreds of thousands actually, of people coming into the country. Now you're talking about people from Kenya, you're talking about people from the Philippines, you're talking about people from Congo, Tanzania, Rwanda, coming all the way to our country to visit this place. But if it weren't for the celebrations, would we be having even a quarter or even a quarter of those people coming to this country to visit the shrines? Maybe not.
Well, and I think so we need to have more marketing, especially by the Uganda Tourism Board, the Ministry of Tourism, not only to leave such sites to the religious denominations in the country to push for religious tourism, but because it can be a foreign exchange earner for the country, we need to put more efforts in promoting and also in ensuring that it's part of the Explore calendar here in the country. But when you also look at what other sites or what to look out for if you're in Namugongo as a religious tourist or as an ordinary tourist, there is also the Martyrs Lake. That is at the Namugongo, that is at the Catholic site. Many of the believers normally go in there to pick some holy water, put it in bottles, take back home. Others actually wash their faces from the same lake. And it was further developed because there is also a pavilion where many of the believers sit. That is an aerial view of the same site. That is the lake where the prayers or the main prayers are going to be. That is from the side of the Catholics. So that is what you're seeing, the green from the aerial view is the Martyrs Lake. And I remember the days of my childhood when we went to visit the site. Get to realize that we had to wash our faces within the lake. And of course, there are more religious beliefs attached to the same, but you can go there to tour, explore, and then the Catholic Basilica, and as well as going to the Anglican site to ensure that you go tour. And on top of it, it also helps you to understand more about the Martyr's life, and at the end of it all, strengthening your faith in Christ and in religion. When you look at the story of the Uganda Martyrs Museum, it is an eye-opening tale of how the church and politics were intertwined in the 19th century Uganda kingdom, how the fears faced by the king in the unexpected emergence of the missionaries and colonialists. And also, when you look at the opening time, is that the museum is open Monday to Friday, and the entrance fee is 10,000 Ugandan shillings, approximately $2.66 US for adults, and just 5,000 Ugandan shillings, approximately $1.33 for children. So why not? If I told you you don't have the time to go in today, maybe you can use this entire month to take your children or to go yourself and view something, get to learn about the history of the Uganda martyrs, how they were persecuted, they passed through, and everything you can know about the Uganda martyrs. For now, that is it for the UBC DMU Tourism Express. Coming up shortly is Chantal Oliver Kaninda with the latest from the world of business.
We were supposed to discuss the business element as well.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Was brought to you by
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. the signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're so tingy. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Junko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Uganda, haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a portrait project, and now things are moving.
Junko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
A very good morning to you once again. Thank you for sticking around with us. Happy Matters Day celebrations wherever you're catching them from. And we also do hope that you are live waiting for the updates that we are going to be giving you from the Namugongo site that is going to be having the commemoration of this particular day. And this very morning, in terms of business, we'll be looking at the aspect of business when it comes to that side of town, when it comes to this time of the year. What do we usually expect? Now, last year, according to what we got from the Catholic side, it was believed that we received about 1.2 million pilgrims, and as of today, we expect about 1.3 million, if not more. And what does that? And now, when we're talking about business, what does that trickle into? In this case, and this is the point where I would love to, to converse with Jerome Paul, Sonko, to catch on some of the businesses that could be thriving properly in when it comes to that side, and I don't know if you've been there or if you've had some information coming from that side.
There is a very dominant business. Normally, when the matters actually, most of the dominant
I see where you're going.
Yes, most of the dominant businesses are small-scale businesses, simply because there are so many people who are coming in. Right. There are many people who normally go in there and access the Airbnb business, because the Airbnb business is one of those. Because there are people who normally go and reside there for a week. They do not want to reside inside the premises, but they want just a simple place to stay for a period of 1 week. After the celebrations are done, they go back. Right. And then
and considering that we also have we have South Africans, we have Americans, we have Canadians, name it.
Yes, so many of them decide to actually go in for that. And then the strategic business people normally use this to start buying in some stock of, let's say, simple grocery. You look at people who are dealing in selling of, let's say, some simple snacks, because that is the kind of business that you expect. Many people are there. That means they are definitely going to get hungry at the end of the day. People who are selling food, you do realize also people who are dealing in this kind of hanky selling business, the simple sort of business. So the small scale businesses are always on the rise.
Can I interest you in one other? It could be a business venture you might want to try. Jerry cans. Yes.
To just take some water?
Yes, take some holy water, yes. Because I think a 5-liter jerrycan is about 2,500 right now. And the 10-liter goes for 5,000. And the 20-liter goes for, I think, 10,000, if I'm not mistaken. And so if you might want to do some business. And
yes, I think it would be a good one. Though, however, one of the other businesses that has been trending over the years, something that most of the side of the Anglican and the Catholics have always been fighting against, because it normally takes away the attention of the believers. It's the open bars that are always around there from the night time, especially on the eve of Matters Day, even after.
And after, yes.
It normally happens a lot. And in most cases, it's something that many of the church leaders continue to warn or caution against the believers, because then you're contradicting with your faith. You've come to pray, and at the end of the day, heading out somewhere to again disorganize the prayers
well, you're calling it a celebration, and people celebrate differently, so I guess.
I think so. But when you also look at the other businesses, I think generally the business environment in Chaliwajala, Namugongo always picks up when it comes to Namugongo, for those who are selling edibles, like I did mention, but also the transport business.
Right.
Especially now after the prayers at around 3 p.m., you will expect taxis to make some good money, public transport.
Even right now, those who are going
those who are going, border riders. So it's generally a business time for those who are not into what you could call white collar sort of business. It is a business for someone who is, it is time for someone who is in a flexible sort of business to earn some good money. So if at all, you can easily change the type of business you're doing, and you can sell products that are on demand at the time. Identify those products.
Although at the moment, the other challenge that has been mentioned by the pilgrims and the small business owners is that the pilgrims seem to be having issues with the prices. The complaint is last year the prices were slightly lower than the prices they're finding today, and that is a bit challenging because they probably came with an expectation of the same prices, and that makes it even hard for consumption. So according to the traders who are in the area, the report is that the business is moving a little slower than they expected. And that is mainly the issue that is being cited, is that prices are a little higher than they were previously, and this is blamed on the economy and how things have been flowing and the taxes. But then again, the traders also have to make a profit from the products or the items that they are selling, and that is one thing that I found that has been said to be challenging when you talk to the different traders and also talk to the pilgrims who came with a certain expectation. And please do note that most of these pilgrims, the biggest percentage, come from the local areas, and their earnings are not as big as we would be expecting.
Also, not to forget, according to the Daily Monitor today, is that collection of holy water at Namugongo has been suspended. And then they are further warning that those who collect the water should as well boil this water before drinking. But before Chantal Oliver Canada does take us into the world of business from the latest that has been happening in the past 2 days, we now head to Namugongo because Onyango Robert is on site to take us through what is happening there currently and what to expect during the prayers, how the preparations have been, how has the situation been in the last 12 hours, and then also to just give us a view of how things are currently in Namugongo. And well, of course, when we do connect to Onyango, we shall also try to understand the preparations from both sides of Namugongo, that is from the Anglican side, and then also from the Catholic side, because when you look at the numbers that are shooting up in regards to the trekkers and in regards to the visitors that we expect to be heading there. Also on the same kind of development that is coming in from Namugongo is that many of the believers who normally take or collect this holy water tend to drink it immediately.
And that is the conversation, yes, I was telling you about, that this is water this is stagnant water,
yes,
and that is not treated. And this is the same warning that has been given year in, year out. You cannot take that water and take it or use it without first treating it or boiling it. And the problem now is that some staunch believers think that is you should be taking the water the way it is.
And when you look at also the cover of the Daily Monitor, they're actually showing numbers of people with jerrycans and bottles.
That's why I told you, one of the businesses that are thriving in Namugongo right now is jerrycans. Someone says she purchased over 20,000 jerrycans, and she expects that these 20,000 jerrycans will be done by the time these celebrations end. Because even last year she did the same thing, and she says she earned some good money from that. So it tells you that we have a number of people who are collecting this holy water. But if I have to boil the holy water to use it, is it still holy?
When you look at the stories behind why many of the faithfuls take this water, they claim that since the blood-stained spears and machetes that the executioners used to stab and slaughter the men of God were washed in the well, the water possesses more healing powers and is a source of miracles. Now, the records also indicate that the majority of the Uganda martyrs were killed in an area where the Anglican shrine stands today. And then these machetes were being washed in the lake. So the faithfuls believe by taking the water, the chances are they will be purified within. I think it's something that is highly debatable from the religious side of things.
It is debatable, and I think, I don't know, I would stand to be corrected, but I think even our leaders, our religious leaders, need to come out and clarify on this. I think, according to what I know, the only blood that would do that would have been Jesus's blood. Short of that, any individual cannot have such healing power in their blood, and this is something that needs to be, clarified to the believers. Otherwise, you would tend to think maybe some of these individuals are just being fanatics.
Well, about 2 million pilgrims are expected to gather at both the Anglican and Catholic shrines to celebrate Martyrs' Day in honor of the 45 young men who were executed by Mukajanga, the chief executioner on the orders of the Kabaka. That was between 1885 and 1887, after they had converted to Christianity. And when you look at the numbers, 2.5 million, or about 2 million Ugandans that are expected to be there, more business is likely to make some good money, or the business people are likely to make some good money during such a time. And myself and Chantal have been discussing about the 1.2 million that was there last year.
Right.
Now, when
just
you look at the rise of 2 million,
from the Catholic
now when you look
side,
at the rise to 2 million for both sides, that's a huge number.
It is a huge number. I'm only hoping that we are not getting affected, like I earlier mentioned, we're not getting affected by the increased prices, as the complaints have been coming in from the different pilgrims saying that the prices have increased. And last year what they found is different from what they found this year, and that gets a bit tricky when it comes to how much money we are going to be making. But our hands are going to be on the ground, our teams are going to be on the ground, and we'll be finding out if indeed the effect has been felt that bad, or if some individuals have actually made some money irrespective of the high prices of the commodities that are being sold around Namugongo.
And now we head to Namugongo with Onyango Robert, who is there already to give us details of what is happening in Namugongo. We shall be linking up with him to give us just a view of what is there, and also to break down for us the preparations and the celebrations as well of this year's Namugongo. We also need to see how are people turning up in Namugongo, as you can easily see on screen. Good morning, Robert.
And the whole crew of Good Morning Uganda. Yes, I'm by the names of Robert Onyango, and I'm just stationing here at the Anglican site in Namugongo, where this is the day we have all been preparing and waiting for, of the 3rd June 2024. And here at the Anglican shrine, we are remaining with a few minutes to open up the service or to start off the day's program. And there is a lot of anxiety here. There has been preparations in the morning to ensure that by the time we begin off the service, which is expected a few minutes away from this 8 a.m. time, then we will be good to go. The dioceses of the Midwestern cluster, which are leading this year's Martyrs' Day celebrations here at the Anglican site, have confirmed to us that they are indeed up to the task of delivering the job handed to them by the Church of Uganda. This year's celebrations will be led by the Midwestern Cluster, which has 6 dioceses, but being superintended by the Rwenzori Diocese. I want to give you Reverend Bosa Chimanje Esau, who is here with me to give us the program of the day and probably tell us who will be doing what and what will be the agenda or the order of service as soon as, because I'm even informed, the Archbishop Church of Uganda, His Grace Stanley Samuel Kazimba Mugalu, is already here, and Father Esau Bosa is going to give us what is the day's program, at what time can we expect the service to roll on, then how will we end these celebrations in as far as this year's Matters Day celebration here at the Anglican site. Good morning, Father, Reverend.
Morning to you. I'm delighted to be with you. The program is on, and we are about to begin the service, because as we have been announcing it, the service is supposed to begin at 9. We have already started seeing our mothers, the wives to the bishops, sloping down and taking their seats. Therefore, also, the bishops are coming, and once they come, the service is going to begin.
Are we good to go as the church?
We have prepared very well. We are good to go. Now at this time, there is nothing which can hinder the program. The Christians are over. The leader, our Archbishop, is here. The guest preacher is also around. So the service is ready.
Well, this is a celebration which happens every year. What is unique about this year's service or celebration at this site?
The uniqueness in this service, because each year we have different clusters. This year we have Mid-West cluster organizing. So we expect to hear different languages, Lutoro, Lunyoro, Lukonzo, so and different cultures from that cluster. But also we can see every year we have an increment in numbers coming here. If you look around, you can testify the numbers we have today. Yes.
Did you also feel that this place in future is going to be small, just like you say, rare numbers are adding on? Then what is the church's plan to ensure that at least by the year which comes where numbers are increasing, we also have enough space in this site?
As I've already said, that numbers are increasing. I know the place is becoming smaller, but we still have somewhere where we can extend. There is we have space where we have not built. We can utilize that space.
How can you share with us what was the situation here tonight?
The situation, it was, we had full capacity. The place was full to capacity. Christians were here. The gospel was shared. We had very vibrant preachers. People accepted Jesus. And I know we have now transformed people, Christians, who are going to go out and change the world.
Just your last message to someone watching us on UBC TV. If he or she hasn't yet made to this site, what will she or he miss? And is there anything you can tap on them to ensure that they be here in time?
Yeah, a lot is missed if you have not been in a certain function. So now we have the gospel which is going to be preached, the word which is going to be preached. Okay, somebody is going to miss it unless this person is on a TV like a UBC. They will be following. But if you are not anywhere, media, you are not there. Your physical presence is not here. So a lot is going to be missed.
You said at 9 service starts?
The service is about to begin at 9, exactly 9. Yes.
Thank you. That has been Reverend Bosa Esau Chimanje. He is one of the in charge of this site at the Anglican in the ends of Namugongo. Just like you have heard from him, if you wouldn't make it here, keep it a deal on UBC. We shall give you the live updates of both the shrine where am I here at the Anglican shrine, then at the Catholic shrine, we shall make you covered, and don't miss any moment of this year's Matters Day celebrations. Here, as you have heard from him, it is filled to capacity, meaning Christians are still following the story of the Matters. It speaks to the fact that indeed the story of the Uganda Matters is not going to die off tomorrow, but it will be a story for generations. I want to hand back to the team of Good Morning Uganda, but we will return here as soon as the service kicks off officially. Back to you, Sonko, at the broadcast house.
Thank you very much, Onyango Robert, for that update, and we shall surely get back to you to give us more of what is happening in Namugongo. And of course, just like Reverend Esau has revealed, that if at all you're not there physically, the better way is to stay online or on television by watching UBC so that you get everything coming in from Namugongo. But
we were coming to work.
They will watch the updates in the evening on the news, and then also tomorrow morning, Good Morning Uganda. But it will be better if you switch on your
live
television, yes, and see what is happening and the prayers, so that you also receive your blessing from your sitting room. But well, Chantal, as we're summing up with this kind of Namugongo setting, you do realize that there was money that the government also put in order for the celebrations to be a success.
Yes, over 2 billion Uganda shillings.
Wow. That was put in order to say that we have a successful celebration, the security detail that is in place. So that means everyone who wants to mess around, the chances are very high that you will be put to order if you are about to do anything fishy. And with that, Chantal Oliver Candida now takes us into business this morning.
Well, business this morning, according to Venkatesh Kumar, who is the general manager of Mandela Group of the businesses that will go down. He says of the businesses that will go downhill, owners under the age of 30 are most vulnerable to this very risk. And according to him, there is lack of clear goals as a dominant recipe for failure. And the facilitators of the training also questioned the attitudes of business owners as disruptive to business success, and says upcoming entrepreneurs have been fine-tuned in critical investment areas, and so if the entrepreneurs embrace the methods and the positive projections will improve from the current 60% survival rate. Now, the company has a chain of businesses and premium products that benchmark the business environment. And it also goes without saying that he said those who are under the age of 30 are vulnerable to this risk, and the major problem is the lifestyles that they lead and the businesses they use to conduct business, the attitudes they use to conduct business. Now, away from that, the State Minister for Youth and Children's Affairs, that is Honorable Balam Barugahara Tenyi, has called upon the Inspector General of Government to investigate the parish development model in Ibanda district, and this is after public complaints that Ibanda there is a slow process of this parish development model program because of the negative elements that polarize the program. And he further went ahead to warn people handling the parish development model money in Ibanda district against asking for kickbacks from the beneficiaries. And according to the minister, Barugahara, he said this while attending the belated Women's Day celebrations in Ibanda district that were organized by the area woman member of parliament, Jen Bainomgisha. Well, we are still speaking matters parish development model for those that are yet to benefit, and Ibanda has seemed to have a slow uptake of these processes. Now, away from that, let's cross over and see how we are trading this particular morning, and this was as of closure of business yesterday now. Closure of business on Friday. And as you can see from your screen, the US dollar closed at 3,805, and that was for you who was buying, and it was selling at 3,815. The Great Britain pound closed at 4,840, while selling at 4,853 if you were selling, and the euro was buying at 4,116, while selling at 4,127. The Kenya shilling was buying at 29.15, while selling at 29.23. The Tanzanian shilling was buying at 1.46, while selling at 1.46 still. And lastly, the South African rand was buying at 202.48, while selling at 203.01. And that is how we're faring as of closure of business Friday. Now, we'll be giving you next updates tomorrow morning as of how we would have been faring by closure of business today. And that's it for our business news this particular morning. Now, in Studio A, I still do have Olive, Monica, Najima with a very interesting conversation. I was a historian, so I would definitely love to dig deeper into this conversation on the Matters Day celebrations. What do we know? Which facts do we have correctly? Which ones are off? And I'm enjoying the conversation because at the end of the day, we are learning, we are getting to know what we hadn't known and what was kept away from us by the tourists and whoever wrote, actually even the missionaries, by whoever wrote some of the history that we have been able to read up to this very day. And now over to you, Olive. I am looking forward to more of this conversation.
You know, Chantal,
yes.
Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, one of my favorite African writers of the moment, says that there is a danger in a single told story.
Right.
She says that in most cases, if you get to hear one side of the story, then it is dangerous because there is another side, because there is always two sides to the coin. So there is always a challenge when you do not tell both sides of a story. But before we delve into more about the secrets in the Uganda Matters story, let's take a short break.
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Was brought to you by
Just take a polite loan of 200k to stock on my shop. The signs and symptoms of success. The bank commander, not the bank teller.
Why hassle for a loan when you've got MTN Momo? We're sorting it. Use the Momo app or dial *165*5# for all quick loans. Choose from the different loan options from our partners and get one that works for you. Together, we're unstoppable.
Juko.
Yo.
Check the shopping, man. What's your secret?
Haven't you heard of the parish development model PDM?
Yes, I did, but I thought it was just a talk.
No, Sebatia. It is real. I and a few friends together formed a circle, accessed money from the PDM, invested in a poultry project, and now things are moving.
Juko. I thought I was one of your friends.
You are.
But you left me behind.
I didn't leave you in poverty. What you do, just visit your LC2 chairperson and your parish chief and start the process of economic transformation. Just like that. The parish development model is an initiative from the government of Uganda through the Ministry of Local Government designed to transform all lives of Ugandans for the better. PDM, my parish, my development, my life.
Nyati Motion Pictures brings you Tuko Pamoja, a documentary film about our unity as Ugandans and Africans.
Bunyoro would have simply created an East African community that we are looking for today.
The rulers of Bunyoro are actually Luos.
We people who live across the Nile, we are so related from our myth or from just the Nile.
We are the same people, and genetically we are even the same people.
We are similar people.
We are one.
Pamoja, we are one.
Use that word pamoja.
Premiering every week from 3rd February to June 2024 at the National Theatre and Indere Center. Daily screenings are from 4th February to June 2024 at Ham Cinemax and the National Theatre. To get a ticket, call 0778 787 660. Tuko pamoja?
Live from UPC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda.
Like I was saying earlier, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, the Nigerian writer, says the danger of a single story makes it doesn't mean that the other stories are untrue, but it means that the story being told is incomplete. And the same goes for the story of the Uganda matters. We have known a different version of that story, which also brings into the question, who wrote this story and what was the benefit? Why was it relevant to them to write the story we know as it was written? Why is it that we have excerpts of this story that have never been told before? Well, today you get to hear the other side of the story of the Uganda matters as it is being unearthed here on Good Morning Uganda. We have had a few contentions when it comes to the Uganda Matters story, where some people are of the view that the Matters were actually not just faithful, they were rebellious against the then King Kabaka Mwanga II. But then there are also others who say no, they were martyrs because they refused to denounce their faith, and then they were killed because they decided to choose faith, to choose a God they had never seen, a God they didn't know they will ever see, but they had faith that they will see this God. So they chose him over following the orders of the king, or over playing basically over allowing themselves to go with the matters of the day. And these events took place around 1885 up until around January 1887. Actually, in this new story, I've been told that there is a martyr who was killed around Namamve, and the exact location where he was murdered is not known, and he was killed around May 1887. So that means actually the story of the martyrs from January 31st, 1885 goes on up until May 1887. But you see, the danger of a single story is that we only knew one side. We only knew the matters that have been documented over the years, which also begs for the question, why is it that some parts of the story were not documented? But I'm not the expert on this subject. I have the expert, a man that has taken time to read and research and dig deeper when it comes to the matters story. So if you're asking the question, are there secrets regarding the matters story? The answer is yes. But I won't answer that question for you. Let him give us the details. And this is Mr. Chikomeko Amos, Christopher Amos, who is a lay evangelist at Namirembe Diocese Mission Department. If you missed us in the first session of the show, we are continuing the conversation that we had earlier with Mr. Chikomeko. Welcome back.
Good morning, viewers. And yes, you are very right. We earlier on saw a few of these secrets, and so let's see some more.
Yes, let's see some more. Actually, before I made you come to a close earlier, there is something you wanted to mention right before. So we had the first three martyrs that were murdered as they were escorting one of the missionaries. And then you were about to talk about the other batch that was killed next.
Correct. And the other batch had only one, who is Joseph Balikudembe. the head of all the palace pages. And his crime was basically to give a word or to say a word for Huntington, the one they wanted to kill and they actually killed. So he was called a spy, he was called a terrible person. How could you give a word for somebody you even don't know? So poor man met his death. So he became the third martyr. He was also beheaded, Nakivubo. And again, Katikiro Mukasa was very happy that now a whole palace head is gone. But again, as much as he had made a crime, there was that option. If you renounce Christianity, we can pardon you. But he refused. So he was beheaded. That's why he's a martyr. And then we now move into the other biggest batch. It's called the Munyonyo batch. 3 of them. Dennis Sebugwao, Musa Mukasa, and then the following day, Anderea Kagwa. So 3 martyrs. And then there is a whole batch of martyrs killed on the way from Munyonyo to Namgongo. Ponsiano Ngondwe Muchamula. Athanasius Bazekuketa Nachivobo. Elia Bumbwa and another one Mlago. Gonzaga Gonza Lubao Hill as you go to Naria. So you see, there were several on the way, not necessarily at Namgongo alone.
Well, as we speak about the history of the martyrs and answering the question as to whether or not there are secrets regarding the martyrs' story, what you see right now is a live feed from the Anglican side of the shrine in Namgongo, and we will also be bringing you live feeds from the Catholic side, but right now this is the Anglican side in Namgongo, where also martyrs from the Anglican faith were murdered. So we have the Anglican martyrs and we have the Catholic martyrs that were all murdered at the orders of the King Kabaka Mwanga. But of course, we are also learning other aspects to that story. And stick with us because this conversation continues with Mr. Chikomeko, and I'll let you continue.
Yeah, there are some who escaped, and those are never talked about.
Because they were not martyrs.
They were not martyrs, but they would have been martyrs
if they
had they not escaped or had they not denied Christianity.
So there are some that actually
renounced Christianity. Not because that's what they felt in their heart, but because they were just like me. I think I would be scared to be killed.
Yes.
So they were scared to die and they ran away, or they said, for me, I give up. And that's why you see after the martyrdom, there are still Christians around because they were there. And since God looks at our hearts, I'm sure God knew that these are denying me not because they don't know me, it's because they don't want to die.
Okay.
And the most interesting thing is that God used them.
Actually,
those who escaped.
I was actually coming to the question of how did the Uganda martyrs, but also those that did not, those that were not murdered, so they didn't become martyrs. How did they influence the expansion of Christianity within the country, the spread of Christianity within Uganda?
I think that's a very good question. That particularly, let me give an example of somebody like Duta Kitakule. He has papers at Makerere where he gives the story. We escaped, we left Natete, we passed here, so we went home. He was from Bulemezi, Sekiwunga, around there. Then he said they arrived there, their father told them, no, you can't stay here, you take your people. They ran away to Bunyoro. Now the Bunyoro of that time was not Hoiman Masindi, it was Singo. So as near as Singo, then in Singo they were able to go all the way to Ankole. But you see, this Duta Kitakule later became the first pioneer Anglican priest. Okay, there were 3, but he's one of them. So I think you see how God used them. It's not really that they denied or they ran away. They were just scared of dying.
And probably God had a different purpose for them.
Exactly. Others like Apollo Kagwa, when the 1900 agreement was made, he was there to make sure that the church gets land.
Oh, Apollo Kagwa was one of the people that ran away.
For him, he didn't run away. He was the cashier of the palace, so the Kabaka forgave him. But when now, on the following day, the 26th of May, everybody assembled, and they had to make a choice. Those who want to renounce, stay on the right. If you cannot renounce, go on my left. Kagwa remained on the right. So that means he actually renounced Christianity.
Yes.
But you see, God uses them. In 1900, there he is. The Bazungus are dishing out land, and the church also gets. And Apollo Kagwa makes sure that the church gets. The Anglicans got 40 square miles. The White Fathers got 35 square miles. The Mill Hill missionaries of Nsambia got 17 square miles.
And that's where now we see Rubaga Cathedral, Namirembe Cathedral.
And everywhere in Uganda where you see the church, all that was because this escapee, this person who denied Christ, was later used by God.
So it goes to show that there is always a purpose. Yes. God doesn't make mistakes. And from this story, I'm learning that maybe not all of them were meant to die. So we've also heard that some were burnt. Can you share more on how these martyrs were killed, the ways through which they were killed?
Correct. They were the first ones were speared, but a spear really doesn't kill somebody. You simply die from bleeding. So the Kabaka, after spearing Musa Mukasa and later on Dennis Sebugwao, he instructed, because those were the very first ones, on the 25th of May. He speared Musa Mukasa, he speared Dennis Sebugwao, and then he instructed the soldiers to take them further away and finish them off. So they were speared. But then, like Joseph Barikudembe was beheaded.
By Mukajanga. Was it by Mukajanga?
No, not by Mukajanga, by the soldiers. They used to call them Aramboa. So actually I think they were taking him, but he refused to go all the way. Finish me here. And so they finished him there. All the others they killed on the way, they refused to go to Namgongo. They said, there is no reason why I'm going there. Kill me here. And they will be mutilated.
Why was Namgongo very important? Why is it that they were being dragged to Namgongo?
Because the kingdom had what they call the public executions ground, and that was Namugongo. Then there was the royals' executions ground. That was at Nakatema and Sanji. So they had a prison there and an executions ground. But none of the pages were royals. Although later on you hear about somebody called Clea Narumansi, the sister of Mwanga.
Yes.
Well, her period and the story is different. But all the others were commoners, and therefore they had to be executed at the executions ground. Waibulori and Nachiyanja, the assistant executioner, had a residence at what we call Bulori. And in those days, wherever there was a mass murder, he was allowed to pick one of the would-be massacred and be killed at his residence. So when he was asked, who do you want to kill here at your residence? He said, Karoli Rwanga, who was the head of the pages at that time. So that's why Karoli Rwanga was killed at the Roman Catholic grounds, to keep that right. Then all the rest to the Anglican site today, where all the rest were killed. But the whole of that was executions ground.
So, okay, now that you mentioned that, does it mean that some that were killed from the Anglican shrine, what is today the Anglican shrine, were not necessarily Anglicans?
No. No. As I said, only one, Karoli Rwanga, to follow that right, was killed at the Roman Catholic shrine. The rest
at the Anglican shrine.
There was a big trick called Ndazara Zadde. So that's where they were tied as they looked for the firewood and then finally burnt. But there was a miracle, which nobody wants to talk about. As they burnt them, they burst into a song. Normally when you burn somebody, you will be choking. You will be, but here were martyrs singing. Now that was a miracle. That was a miracle which scared Mukajanga very much. What is happening? This was supposed to be cursing me. How come they are bursting into a song? Now that was a very divine miracle which we can't even understand up to today.
Indeed, I remember, I've heard that story before of them bursting into a song, but then some people have dismissed it as a myth that Christians are being too much and doing the most. And but still, the people who have always said that they burst into a song likened it to what happened when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were in the fire, and they were just walking about and singing praises. So the same happened with the martyrs.
Exactly, and if you study martyrs all over the world, there is always a miracle. Even in Europe, where they used to throw them into the amphitheaters for the lions to devour them, you would realize that the lions would not devour them. And they would come and they will kill them with swords because the lions have refused to devour them. So there is always a miracle.
So the story of Daniel also continues on with the martyrs in modern day after Christ. Interesting, very, very interesting. So now we go back to the digging of the lake.
Yes.
What inspired the Kabaka to have the now known Kabaka's Lake in Katwe to be dug?
As I said earlier, he wanted it extended.
Yes, to Lake Victoria.
Yeah, but what inspired him, he loved water. And in January of 1886, Mengo Palace caught fire. There was fire. So the entire royal household shifted to Munyonyo. He had several palaces. He had a palace in Zambia. He had a palace at Munyonyo. He chose Munyonyo. And the few months he spent in Munyonyo, he fell in love with the water. So when he returned to Mengo, he could not stand not seeing water. So basically, that's what led to the digging of that lake.
Okay. And now, as the digging was going on, there was a coup.
No, the digging was finished.
Oh, it was
The lake was opened. It is when he said, now that the lake is done, let's do more work. Let's extend this lake. And Kajians, that the lake diggers said, you Kabaka, we are not going to do this.
Why? They were tired?
There were 3,000 of them, and this was 1887, 1886, stroke those 2 years. So there are no hoes, there are no tools to use, they are using baskets. So it was very tiresome.
Well, we take you back to the Anglican site in Namgongo, and we continue with the celebration of the Uganda Matters. So keep with us. We will be giving you more details regarding the Uganda Matters, both from the Anglican site and from the Catholic site. You won't miss a thing, because every detail that you need, you're going to find it here on UBC. So you were saying, before we continue, yes, we are looking at the Anglican site in Namgongo. It's taking shape. Prayers are starting around 9 a.m. this morning. So what you see are people arriving, dignitaries arriving and settling in before the prayers begin. The Speaker of Parliament, Anita Annette Among, has just arrived at the site, and other dignitaries that are with her have also arrived, and the prayers will be beginning in the next 9 minutes. That will be at 9 a.m. As you can see, the place is very beautiful, nicely decorated, calm. There is security. All the roads that lead to Namgongo have security there, so don't worry about your security. You're going to be safe. And of course, there are a few traffic diversions that we will be looking at later on. But for now, what I know for sure is that if you're coming from the areas of Chira, you cannot go through Charlie Wajala. That road has been closed off, so you will have to go through Najera. And for those that are heading to Nalia, you may also have to look at the diversion routes that have been created before you get to Namgongo. If you want to be a pilgrim, you could park your car maybe somewhere in Chira, and then you walk, because the entire stretch has been demarcated for pilgrimages. So pilgrims, I beg your pardon. So you can continue your pilgrimage to Namgongo, so that you can also have a say that I trekked and I was a pilgrim in the year 2024 going to Namgongo Matters Shrine. Now coming back to the studio, I'm still having a conversation, and we are still answering the question, are there secrets when it comes to the Matters story? Yes. And what I've learned this morning from Mr. Chikomeko, there are many secrets from the Matters story. He said that the Kabaka's Lake in Katwe was dug by over 3,000 men. But now we are talking about the 1800s. So we didn't have modern day equipment to dig a lake. What a feat.
Yes, so they got very tired. There is no way they could extend it through Kaboa and Kajansi, so they had to rebel. But unfortunately, the missionaries didn't want to capture that because, as I said earlier, it was exposing things. But there is another secret.
Another secret?
Dr. Janka is a German man. He was coming from Bunyoro, and as I said earlier, Bunyoro was not Hoima Masindi, it was Singo as well.
Singo.
So as he passed through Singo, he says he counted over 200 dead bodies or dead people. And he used to ask, what happened to this one? What happened to this one? And the people were telling him the soldiers killed them because they refused to renounce Christianity. That one was killed because he refused to renounce Christianity. And Dr. Janka says he counted 200 bodies. Unfortunately, he did not record the name. So that means we have undocumented matters. Many of them, of course, were not baptized, but the scripture is very interesting. This is what it calls baptism by fire. But I don't want to preach.
You can tell us a little bit about baptism by fire.
I don't want to go
in
there.
The context of those that were killed on the way.
There, but all I can say is that since they were not even baptized, but they could not renounce Christianity, and the soldiers killed them. And if this Dr. Janka is correct, that is, I don't see how a German would lie. He must have counted the body, because maybe what we haven't talked about is the fact that in Mitiana, there was a big center of Christians, and indeed they were killed as martyrs, and those are recognized. I think we have about 6 of them recognized. Mitiana, originating people. Noah, I think Mawagali, Matthias Mulumba, although that one was brought to Kampala. Lukabana Bachintu, that one also was brought all the way to Namugongo. But there was a Chibuka, there was a Muanga, there was a Chitogo. I think those 3.
Okay.
So there were.
So now coming back to modern day times, and as you can see, the choir is starting to serenade those that are present at Namugongo Matters Shrine. They are starting. This year's celebrations are led by the Nebi Diocese, and the chief celebrant for the 2024 Matters Day celebrations is from Nigeria. And we are going to be giving you the choir with their harmonies as they take us through the day's celebrations. But before we branch off, we still continue with the conversation regarding whether or not there are secrets in the Matters story. Now, coming back to today, what would you say has been the impact of the Matters story to Uganda's cultural heritage and also Christianity?
Somebody called Tertullian, he's a church father of the 2nd and 3rd century, said the words that the blood of the martyrs is the seed of the church. And how true for us today, that whenever we reflect, we get encouraged, we get faith, and we are able to move on as Christians. But unfortunately for today, somebody called Tefiro Kunukisosonkole gave us Anglicans 20 acres at Namugongo. After death, his son gave us another 16 acres.
Making it 36.
When you come to Namugongo today, we are hardly 5 acres. But what do you see in the area he donated to us? Bungalows all over the place. So that explains that maybe even us as new Christians today, the Ugandan Matters and the faith we should have taken from them is very, very questionable. Because 31 acres cannot be seen anymore. And yet this donation was to us.
Okay. So what does that say about Christianity today as a whole?
That's what I mean, that it is not that deep. It's shallow. Yes, we are celebrating, but those who are celebrating, if you look at some of them, they are behind the loss of those 31 acres. So it is not that deep.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. But away from the land issues, how about the Christians themselves that throng to Namgongo, to the Catholic and even Anglican shrine? Are they really trekking? When you look at the purpose for their trek to the shrines, is it really Christian oriented, or for some it is something totally different?
You are asking a question which I want to put a reason as a doctrinal question. Because when you look at a Roman Catholic, the doctrine and the Uganda matters attaches them in such a way that, oh, for them what they are doing, I can't even explain it. Because you see, for them, they can even ask those matters to pray for them.
Yes.
For us, we can't. All prayers are through the Lord Jesus Christ. So that means that for a Roman Catholic, oh yes, 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 yes. But for us Anglicans who make the trip, who make the pilgrim, it's real faith. It's real faith that makes them go.
Okay. Have you been to the shrines yourself?
Yes, every year.
What are some of those poignant stories or experiences that you have had over the years?
The mere fact that, for example, as a historian, that when we call the place Nakiyanja, Nakiyanja has never been the name of that place.
What is the actual name?
Is the name of a swamp very far away, 2 kilometers away. As a historian, I get interested. Things like why do we allow ourselves to misappropriate what we are given to develop the place until the state says, no, let's do it ourselves. So the amphitheater you see today has been built by the state, not by the church. But not because they haven't given us. They gave, but they couldn't see anything coming up. So for me, when I go to Namgongo, I cry. It's all tears all the time. That we haven't lived the faith of the Uganda matters. We are deceivers. You know, people who show off. That's all we do. My generation.
So in your opinion, do you feel like the faith that the martyrs died for and the pain they experienced and the loss their families experienced to a degree was in vain?
Not in vain, but it is not marching. Theirs and ours are not marching, but of course not in vain.
Not in vain.
Not in vain.
So what do you think, what would you say about the martyr's death? Would you say that it has contributed to national unity?
Oh yes, oh yes, very, not
How
even
so?
national, even regional unity.
Okay.
A great deal.
How so?
For example, people who really have faith, and they would say if they did it long ago when they didn't even have the whole Bible, for us who have the whole Bible, and then you just feel like you have to be better than them. Yeah.
Better than them.
Yeah.
So it makes a Christian
much more faithful.
Much more faithful, looking at what has been done by people before. Well, we are delving into the story of the Uganda matters, but we chose to look at it differently. You have had the story and you know most of the ins and outs of the story, but you have had a single story. And like I said earlier, the danger of a single story is not that it is untrue, it is that it is incomplete. There are certain facets of that story that have not been told, that have not been said. And now, looking at the Uganda matters and their story, we look at certain aspects that have never been shared. Personally, there are things I have learned today. And I believe that if you've been following this conversation from the beginning, there are things that you have also learned today. For instance, recently the Muslims were given June 10th as the day that they will commemorate Martyrs' Day in the Muslim faith. But some people were like, Muslims just want to be part of this and maybe partake in whatever government releases as money or funds to help in the preparations of Matters Day celebrations. But today we learn that 70 Muslims were killed, not at the orders of Kabaka Mwanga, but at the orders of his father, Kabaka Mutesa. Did you know this story? I didn't. But if you did, now we get to even know more regarding the same story. That's why Mr. Chikomeko is here with us. He's a historian, and he has taken his time to understand and research and read and dig deeper into the Matters story. And today on UBC, Good Morning Uganda, we have been able to unearth so many facts that were staring in our eyes, but we didn't know them because they are not widely shared. He says he's going to release a book. I can't wait.
3 years from now.
3 years from now. I can't wait to read that book. Well, the Matters, the prayers are about to start at the Matters shrines, both at the Catholic shrine and at the Anglican shrine, and we will be bringing you a live feed from that side. But for now, we continue with our story regarding whether or not there are secrets in the Matters story. And so we have touched on where the Christians get encouragement in their faith by what was done, but also you have a few grievances regarding how certain aspects have been handled, like the land issue.
Showing the lack of faith.
Showing a lack of faith. And let's go to the youth today.
Yes.
You see, today we are living in the global, in the digital age.
Correct.
And because of that, we have been exposed to many things. Some of it has not been really the best information that we are getting. Today, the youth are grappling with issues of depression, but also grappling with issues of pornography that is readily available on the internet. So, as a historian, but also as an evangelist, how do we bring the youth back to God? Because today when you go to church, except a few churches, you'll find that most pews are filled by the elderly and somewhat older people, very few young people in church. How do we bring them back? How do we get them off certain things that are endangering their lives and their minds that they find on the internet?
I could say that there is a generation which I can only say, God help us. But if I was to find a solution, I would rather go back to Sunday school. So make proper teachings in the Sunday school. Give Sunday school a lot of money. Give that ministry a lot of money, because it is those, as they grow up, who then make sure that the church is what it should be. But now you are asking me, people who are now in the youth stage, their Sunday school was and the Baganda say once the tree has been an to make it would be very hard. So I would ask for our church worldwide, actually not even worldwide, but Africa, invest in Sunday school. Then tomorrow's church and tomorrow's youth will be there.
I hear what you're saying, because even when it comes to education, it is said for you to have an all-round, a holistic student, then you need to invest deeply into early childhood learning. So going back to church, Sunday school matters. Going back to church, Sunday school matters. And I hear you. I've gone to some churches, even Anglican churches. I won't name some of them. And I realized, I'm a parent, and I realized that at the time when I attended a few of these churches, they actually didn't have a Sunday school. So you go with a 2-year, 3, 4, 5-year-old and sit with them in the adult church. The
attention span is zero there.
Attention span zero. The way that the word is being taught is suitable for the adults. And the children are missing out. Why do you think churches are not giving so much effort to Sunday school?
I would say that it is lack of sensitization. Our church leaders have not been sensitized enough. When they see the kind of budgets the Sunday school would make, it doesn't make sense to some of them. But I know for you, you don't want to mention churches, but for me, let me mention a church like Watoto. When they discovered how wealthy that is, you can now see how Watoto is blossoming. So I think it's very, very important to sensitize our church leaders that the right place to start is Sunday school, and give them the examples of churches like Watoto and see what is happening.
And I like that you mentioned Watoto, because at least I can testify that the Sunday school over there is top notch. I've seen parents that are coming from the Catholic side. They're not born again, but they take their children there because they like the Sunday school. Well, what you see is the Anglican site in Namgongo, and that is the beautiful choir made up of more than 300 people. Their voices, their harmonies, it is something to behold. It is beautiful. And I don't know if you were able to catch the choir that we had here on GMU special, the special edition on Friday. The melodies, my goodness, they were amazing. And I believe that this choir is even going to be better, because 300 people, that's quite a number. They have been preparing for over 8 months for this day. 8 months. A lot of work has been put into what they are going to present. They are going to sing in over 8 languages, and those include Luganda, Alu, Toro, Runyankole, Spanish, among others. So you're going to be entertained and also be spirit-filled. We are going to bring you a live feed as the prayers begin. But for now, our conversation continues. Now, by the way, should I, I understand that you're a lay evangelist.
Correct. Commissioned lay evangelist.
But you're not a reverend?
No, I'm
you're
not a priest. No, but I'm a commissioned lay evangelist, meaning that the bishop allowed me to preach the gospel across Namirembe Diocese.
Ah, okay, okay. That's an interesting one. Now, in the years you've been doing this, I know you said, let's go back and work on Sunday school in the churches. But now that that has been addressed, in the years that you have been preaching the gospel, what do you think has taken people out of churches? Because today, our churches are not as full as they used to be. Sunday service is not what it used to be. Even, okay, maybe Christmas a bit, but okay. I am afraid Mr. Chikomeko may not be able to answer that question, because right about now, we are taking you live in Namgongo. We are bringing you a live update, a live feed from the Namgongo shrines, so that you can be part and parcel of the prayers and the celebrations of Martyrs' Day. Stick with us, and here is the live feed.